of actress Lindsay Lohan covering her face with a jacket. After being arrested early this morning here in New York, she's accused of punching a woman at a nightclub. She faces third-degree assault charge.
Hollywood, glamour, fame, headlines. But sometimes those headlines have nothing to do with red carpets and everything to do with courtrooms. Today, we're diving into the real stories behind celebrity legal troubles, cases that reveal the very human side of fame. Robert Downey Jr., from cell block to Iron Man. Before he became Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. was battling personal demons, a long fight with addiction that spiraled into multiple legal issues. In 1996, he was detained for possession of illicit substances and an unregistered firearm. That incident led to probation, but repeated violations saw him serve nearly a year in a correctional facility.
1999, Downey skipped another drug test and was sent back to rehab. But this time, a judge gave Downey hard time, state prison for nearly 1 year.
Downey has since spoken candidly about his recovery journey, one that began in the early 2000s and led to a full pardon from the governor of California in 2015.
I think there's an aspect of it that clearly has to do with one's own morality, because it's too easy to jump on that wagon of it's a disease and my brain's been hijacked and I no longer have a choice in the matter. I think there's that element for sure, but past a certain point, you have to stand up inside yourself and change.
His story is proof that comebacks aren't just for the movies. Mark Wahlberg, a troubled past that shadows his success. Before the Hollywood accolades and blockbuster roles, Mark Wahlberg's early years were marred by violent altercations and a troubled upbringing in Boston. At just 13, he was involved in incidents targeting neighborhood kids. Then, at 16, he was charged after 2 separate bias-related attacks that left one man unconscious and another with lasting injuries. He ultimately pleaded guilty to serious assault charges and served 45 days in custody. Wahlberg has since acknowledged his past, attributing it to substance struggles and environment.
Hey, this is Mark Wahlberg. Please keep dangerous drugs out of kids' hands by disposing your unused prescription medication.
He later sought a legal pardon, then withdrew the request, perhaps choosing to let his present actions speak for him. Lindsay Lohan, stardom and the struggle for stability. Lindsay Lohan lit up the screen in Mean Girls, but behind the scenes, her life was unraveling. Starting around 2007, she faced multiple arrests for driving-related offences, often accompanied by allegations of controlled substance possession. These legal issues triggered a cycle of probation violations, court appearances, and brief stays in treatment centres and custody. Her legal troubles dominated headlines for years, sidelining her career.
I am revoking her probation pending a hearing. I am also setting bail at $100,000. It's up to the sheriffs. I don't tell sheriffs where to put people. I'll see everybody back here November 2nd. People, have your ducks lined up. I want witnesses if you're going to have a hearing, unless you have some sort of stipulation that both of you have reached prior to that date.
But in recent years, she's taken steps toward personal healing and a return to the screen, slowly rewriting her narrative on her own terms. Wesley Snipes, when fame meets financial fallout. Known for slicing through vampires on screen, Wesley Snipes found himself battling something very different off camera: financial misconduct charges that shocked fans and the industry alike. In 2006, Snipes was accused of failing to file federal tax returns for several years and submitting false refund claims.
In 2008, Snipes was found guilty in Ocala of failing to file income taxes for a 3-year period in which he earned just under $40 million. His sentence, 3 years in prison.
While he avoided felony convictions for conspiracy, he was ultimately found guilty of 3 misdemeanor counts for not filing his returns. He served just over 2 years in a federal correctional facility, maintaining that he had been misled by financial advisors. Snipes has since returned to the screen, but the case remains one of the most high-profile financial controversies in Hollywood history. Winona Ryder, from It Girl to infamous headlines. In the early 2000s, America's indie darling became the center of a retail theft scandal that captivated tabloids. In December 2001, Ryder was arrested at a Beverly Hills department store, accused of attempting to leave with over $5,000 in designer items. Prosecutors said she removed tags and hid the merchandise in her bag. She was ultimately convicted of grand theft and vandalism, avoiding jail but receiving probation, fines, and mandatory counseling.
Ryder was tracked on camera as she shopped for designer clothes. He said the actress walked past 3 cash registers with a pile of clothes and handbags before leaving the store. Currently on $40,000 bail, the actress is facing 4 shoplifting charges that carry a maximum 3-year jail term.
The incident stalled her career, but years later she made a dramatic return with Stranger Things, proving that second acts in Hollywood are more than possible. Shia LaBeouf, from child star to public controversy. Shia LaBeouf's talent is undeniable, but so is his long history of erratic public incidents and legal complications. Over the years, LaBeouf has been arrested multiple times for disorderly conduct, public intoxication, and obstruction, often linked to moments of intense emotional volatility.
I have rights. I'm an American. You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir? Yo, you really got these cuffs on me heavy, bro.
But it was a 2020 civil lawsuit that marked a major shift in his public image. Filed by his former partner, musician FKA Twigs, the suit accused him of emotional and physical misconduct, including coercive behavior and aggression.
Often just start having an argument with me in the middle of the night, start accusing me of doing all sorts of things, planning to leave him in my head.
While LaBeouf didn't directly deny the claims, he admitted to personal struggles and said he had hurt those close to him. The case remains unresolved, but its impact on his career has been profound. Mel Gibson, a fall from grace and a long road back. Mel Gibson was once one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, until a string of highly publicized incidents nearly ended his career. In 2006, a driving-related arrest escalated after he made offensive remarks to the arresting officer, for which he later apologized.
You may take away my life, but you'll never take away my freedom!
But that wasn't the end. In 2011, Gibson faced a domestic dispute charge involving his then-partner.
There is more trouble for Oscar winner Mel Gibson this morning. Police in Malibu, California, now investigating a reported case of domestic violence involving his ex-girlfriend.
He pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor domestic incident, avoiding jail but receiving probation, counseling, and community service. The backlash was swift and harsh, with many in the industry distancing themselves. Yet, over time, Gibson made a quiet return, both behind and in front of the camera, showing just how complicated the road to redemption can be in Hollywood. Bill Cosby, from America's Dad to a legacy in ruins. Once a symbol of wholesome entertainment, Bill Cosby became the face of one of the most high-profile celebrity downfalls in recent memory. More than 60 women came forward over the years, accusing him of serious misconduct spanning decades. Though many claims fell outside legal time limits, one case moved forward, allegations involving a 2004 incident with Andrea Constand. In 2018, Cosby was convicted on 3 counts of aggravated assault and sentenced to prison.
Hearing the verdict was a very big moment.
But in 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the conviction, not due to the facts of the case, but on a procedural issue involving a prior legal agreement. Cosby was released, sparking heated debate about justice, celebrity, and accountability. O.J. Simpson, the trial of the century and beyond. Few names in American pop culture carry the weight of O.J. Simpson. In 1995, he was acquitted in the double homicide trial of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman. The verdict divided the nation. A civil court later found him liable for their deaths, but it was a separate case that finally led to a prison sentence. In 2007, Simpson led a group into a Las Vegas hotel room to retrieve memorabilia he claimed was stolen. The confrontation resulted in charges including armed confrontation and unlawful detainment. In 2008, he was convicted and sentenced to up to 33 years, serving 9 before being released on parole.
First, I'm thinking this is a robbery. And then the last guy in, naturally, was O.J.
O.J. Simpson came to the Palace Station Hotel Casino determined to get back what he believed was his own memorabilia.
Felicity Huffman and Loughlin when privilege crossed the line. In 2019, a massive investigation uncovered a web of elite college admissions fraud. At the center of it, 2 familiar faces, Felicity Huffman and Loughlin. Huffman admitted to paying $15,000 disguised as a donation to boost her daughter's SAT scores. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy-related charges and served 14 days in federal custody, along with paying a fine and completing community service.
Actress Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman appeared in Boston federal court earlier today. The two are among dozens of wealthy parents charged in a massive college admissions scandal.
Loughlin and her husband took it further, spending $500,000 to falsely label their daughters as student athletes in order to secure admission to USC. She also pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud, served 2 months in a correctional facility, and paid a $150,000 fine. The scandal struck a nerve, highlighting how access and privilege can bend the rules for some, while others play by the book. Amanda Bynes, a public spiral and a quiet comeback. Once a comedy sensation, Amanda Bynes became a symbol of fame's harsh toll on mental health. Beginning in 2012, Bynes experienced a string of legal troubles, driving offences, a highly publicised incident involving reckless behaviour and possession of a recreational substance. But what alarmed the public most was her increasingly erratic behaviour online and in public spaces.
I did not even touch you. All right, I'm done. Ow! Ow!
She was placed under a temporary psychiatric hold and later entered into a conservatorship managed by her parents. In 2022, that legal oversight ended as a court determined it was no longer necessary. Now, Bynes is focused on wellness, privacy, and a possible new chapter outside the limelight. Christian Slater, from bad boy to balanced. Christian Slater was a rising star in the late 80s and 90s, but his off-screen life often mirrored the chaos of his characters. In 1989, he was arrested following a high-speed driving incident and charged with resisting arrest and driving under the influence. A few years later, he was caught with a firearm at an airport. And in 1997, a late-night party ended with Slater being charged with physical altercations while reportedly under the influence. He spent nearly 2 months in custody and later entered rehabilitation. Since then, Slater has maintained sobriety and rebuilt his career with roles that show a more grounded version of the actor once known for playing rebels. Danny Trejo, from prison yards to movie sets. Danny Trejo's path to Hollywood is anything but typical. Long before becoming a film icon, he spent years in and out of juvenile centers and state facilities, caught in a cycle of street crime and substance issues in 1960s Los Angeles. But it was behind bars that he discovered boxing, and more importantly, recovery. After committing to sobriety through a 12-step program, Trejo transformed his life. A chance visit to a movie set as a counselor turned into a breakout role, and he never looked back. Today, Trejo uses his platform to speak openly about redemption, second chances, and the power of change.
Before you were an actor, you were a criminal, and you've spent time in every single California jail. Is that right?
That was built at the time I was going to jail. San Quentin, Folsom, Soledad, Chino, Vacaville. Yeah.
Matthew Broderick, a tragic detour overseas. In 1987, while vacationing in Northern Ireland with then-girlfriend Jennifer Grey, Matthew Broderick was involved in a devastating car accident. Driving on unfamiliar roads, He crossed into the wrong lane and collided with another vehicle, killing 2 passengers instantly.
In the middle of what was meant to be a peaceful holiday after a busy schedule, Matthew Broderick and Jennifer Gray were involved in a fatal car accident that claimed the lives of 2 women.
Broderick suffered serious injuries and was later charged with careless driving, a lesser charge that resulted in a fine. Though legally resolved, the accident left a lasting emotional impact and for years remained a rarely spoken chapter in his life. It's a sobering reminder of how a single moment can alter multiple lives forever. From fame can't hide flaws. Behind every headline is a human story. Thank you for watching.